The spotlight was too bright for her eyes. She had never stood under one before. Her feet were bare, her hair uncombed, and her dress, faded blue and torn at the shoulder, hung loosely on her thin frame. The murmurs in the audience grew louder. Some people whispered, "Is she lost?" Others chuckled. Did she wander in from the street? The girl held a microphone in her trembling hand. She was no older than 13. Her dark skin glistened under the lights, not from makeup, but from sweat and fear. And then she said, in a soft voice that trembled like a leaf in the wind, "If I sing well, will you give me a plate of food?" The entire hall fell silent. Even the host, who had been smiling moments ago, froze mid-sentence. For a few seconds, all you could hear was the hum of the speakers and the distant ticking of the stage clock. At the judges' table sat 3 people. A record producer named Mr. Blake, a former pop star Monica Ray, and a stern woman from the talent agency, Mrs. Carter. Blake blinked, leaned forward, and asked gently, "What's your name, sweetheart?" The girl hesitated. Her fingers clutched the microphone tighter. "Aisha," she whispered. "Aisha Daniels. I live near the old bridge." The crowd exchanged confused looks. Everyone in town knew the old bridge. It was where the homeless children slept, where the smell of garbage mixed with rain and tears. Mrs. Carter frowned. "Who let her in?" she whispered to the staff. But Monica Ray's eyes softened. She saw something in Aisha's trembling smile, something raw and pure. "Let her sing," Monica said quietly. "Please." The lights dimmed a little. Aisha closed her eyes. The world disappeared, the laughter, the whispers, the fear. And when she opened her mouth to sing, the sound that came out didn't belong to the streets. It belonged to heaven. Her voice rose softly, then soared. A melody filled with hunger, pain, and something even stronger, hope. The audience forgot where they were. For the first time that night, even the judges didn't move. When she finished, there was silence again. Not mockery this time, but disbelief. Then came the first clap, and another, and soon the hall thundered with applause. Aisha's eyes widened in shock. She had never been clapped for in her life. Monica Ray was the first to stand. That, she said, tears glistening in her eyes, wasn't just singing. That was a soul crying. But Aisha didn't smile. Her stomach growled softly. She looked at Monica and asked again, "Does that mean I get the plate of food now?" The audience froze again, this time in heartbreak. Monica Ray's throat tightened. The little girl wasn't joking. Aisha's eyes, large, tired, but innocent, looked straight into hers with a hunger that wasn't for fame or applause. It was hunger for survival. Monica whispered something to the stage manager. Within moments, a man rushed backstage and brought a small paper box. Inside were sandwiches meant for the crew. Monica knelt before Aisha, handing it to her gently. "Here, sweetheart. Eat first." Aisha's hands shook as she took it. She sat right there on the stage floor, not caring about the cameras, the crowd, or the murmurs around her. She tore into the sandwich like someone who hadn't eaten for days, because she truly hadn't. Mr. Blake's voice broke the silence. "Kid, where are your parents?" Aisha chewed slowly, eyes lowered. "Mama got sick," she said softly, and then she slept one night and didn't wake up. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. "And your father?" Monica asked gently. Aisha shook her head. "Never met him. Mama said he left before I was born." Her words hit harder than any song could. Mrs. Carter scribbled notes on her clipboard, hiding the way her lips quivered. The cameras zoomed in on the small girl sitting cross-legged on the stage floor, crumbs falling from her lap as she finished the last bite. "Thank you," Aisha whispered, wiping her mouth. Can I sing again? I didn't finish the song Mama taught me." Monica exchanged a glance with Blake. He nodded slowly. "Go ahead, Aisha." The lights dimmed once more. A hush fell over the audience. This time Aisha sang differently. Her voice trembled at first, but then grew strong, like a bird finding its wings. She sang of rain and pain, of sleeping under bridges, of her mother's lullabies echoing through the night. Her voice cracked halfway, but she didn't stop. She kept singing, tears rolling down her cheeks. When the song ended, there wasn't a single dry eye in the hall. Even Mrs. Carter, who had seen thousands of performers, was quietly wiping her tears with the corner of her sleeve. Then Monica said something that changed everything. "Aisha, would you like to come with me for a while? Somewhere safe?" Aisha blinked. Safe? It was a word she had never fully understood. "Yes," Monica said softly. "Food, a warm bed, and maybe more songs to sing." The little girl hesitated, clutching the microphone like a lifeline. "Will they let me?" "Who?" Monica asked. "The others," Aisha whispered. "The bridge kids. They get angry if someone leaves. They say no one ever comes back. Her words echoed through the hall like a ghostly whisper. Monica took a deep breath and smiled gently. Then maybe it's time someone does come back, stronger. The crowd burst into applause again, not for a performance, but for a promise. A promise that maybe, just maybe, this broken little voice could rise above the noise of the streets. Backstage, as the lights dimmed and the hall emptied, Aisha walked beside Monica quietly. She held onto her sleeve like a child holding onto hope. For the first time in her life, she wasn't walking toward darkness. She was walking away from it. That night, Aisha sat in the back seat of Monica Ray's silver car. The city lights flickered outside the window, bright, fast, and unreal. She had never seen the city from this side before. From the bridge, it always looked like another world. Untouchable. Beautiful, cruel. But now she was inside it. Monica glanced at her from the driver's seat. "You okay, sweetheart?" Aisha nodded slowly. Her tiny hands wrapped around a small paper cup of hot chocolate. Steam rose from it, warming her fingers. "It's sweet," she whispered. "I've never tasted something this sweet before." Monica smiled, though her heart ached. This girl had seen hunger so raw that a simple cup of cocoa felt like magic. When they reached Monica's apartment, Aisha froze at the entrance. It wasn't a mansion, just a cozy two-bedroom place overlooking the park. But for Aisha, it was palatial. She stared at the glowing lamps, the clean floor, the white curtains swaying gently in the evening breeze. "This is your home now," Monica said softly. "At least for a while." Aisha looked at her in disbelief. "Do I have to sing every day to stay?" Monica's throat tightened. "No, darling. You just have to be you." That night, Monica gave her a small pajama set, pink with stars on it. It was too big, but Aisha didn't mind. When she touched the soft fabric, she whispered, "It feels like clouds." Then she saw the bed. A real bed with a blanket and pillows. She didn't climb onto it right away. Instead, she sat beside it, staring in silence. "You can sleep now," Monica said from the doorway. "You're safe." Aisha nodded. But she didn't sleep for hours. Her mind was full of sounds, rain hitting tin roofs, her mother's weak voice, the echo of other kids crying by the bridge. At midnight, she whispered to the dark, "Mama, I got food. I got a bed. You see me, right?" Her tears fell silently on the pillow. The next morning, Monica took her to a recording studio. Aisha's eyes widened at the microphones, the glass booth, the blinking red light. "You're going to sing again," Monica said. "This time we'll record it. Just like professionals do." Aisha hesitated. "But I don't know those big songs." "Then sing what your heart remembers," Monica smiled. "Your mother's song." Aisha closed her eyes. And once again, that pure, haunting melody filled the air. Even the sound engineer stopped moving. The moment she finished, he whispered, This isn't just a kid singing. This is something the world needs to hear." Monica felt a strange flutter in her chest. It wasn't just about talent anymore. It was about destiny. She turned to Aisha and said quietly, "One day people will know your name." Aisha smiled faintly. "And maybe then, I can buy food for all the kids at the bridge." Monica's eyes filled with tears. This little girl, hungry, fragile, barefoot, was already dreaming for others. But far away, beneath the old bridge, the bridge kids whispered among themselves. They had seen the TV broadcast. They had seen Aisha sing. And one boy, older than the rest, clenched his fists and said, "She left us. She forgot who she is." The wind howled across the bridge that night. And somewhere deep down, Aisha's past had begun to wake again. Aisha's life began to change faster than she could understand. Within a few weeks, her song, Mama's Lullaby, was uploaded online by Monica's manager. Nobody expected what happened next. Millions of views, thousands of comments. People across the world were crying over a little black girl who sang for food. TV hosts invited her. Newspapers wrote about her. And even schools wanted her to visit and sing. Aisha didn't understand the word viral, but she could see that suddenly. Everyone smiled when they saw her face. Monica made sure Aisha never forgot where she came from. Every night they would talk about her mother. Sometimes Aisha would hum quietly, holding the old torn ribbon her mother used to tie her hair. But fame has a price, and sometimes it's heavier than hunger. One cold evening, as Monica and Aisha stepped out of the studio, a figure appeared near the gate. Tall, ragged, with a hoodie pulled over his face. Aisha froze. She knew that walk. "Tyson," she whispered. The boy lowered his hood. He was around 15, thin but sharp-eyed, the leader of the bridge kids. "So it's true," he said bitterly. "You sing for rich people now." Monica stepped forward protectively. "Who are you?" "Her family," he said coldly. "The only family she had before you picked her up like a lost dog." Aisha's eyes filled with tears. "Tyson, I didn't forget you. I wanted to come back. Then why didn't you? He cut in. We starve while you sing. You said you'd share the food, remember? Aisha's voice trembled. I haven't got the money yet. I'm still learning. Lies, he spat. You wear new clothes, eat fancy food? You forgot us. Monica's tone hardened. That's enough, young man. She's a child. A child who made a promise, Tyson said, his voice rising. You think the world loves her? They'll forget her in a month, but we won't. We remember. He turned to Aisha, his eyes full of anger, and something deeper. Betrayal. You belong with us, Aisha. Don't let them use you. Then he disappeared into the dark street. Aisha stood frozen, tears streaking down her face. Monica gently placed a hand on her shoulder. He's just angry, sweetheart. He doesn't understand. Aisha shook her head. Knows he's hungry. That night she couldn't sleep. The soft bed felt heavier than the hard ground of the bridge. She kept hearing Tyson's voice. You forgot us. When Monica found her in the kitchen at midnight, Aisha was packing bread and fruit into a small bag. What are you doing? Monica asked softly. I'm going back, Aisha whispered. Just to give them food. They need me. Monica's heart sank. Aisha, it's dangerous. You can't go alone, Mama said. Aisha replied quietly. When you eat and your friend is hungry, the food turns bitter. Monica had no words. She knew she couldn't stop her, not this time. So she wrapped a scarf around Aisha's neck and whispered, Then let me come with you. That night, under the dim streetlights, the superstar and the street girl walked together. Back toward the bridge where it had all begun. Neither of them knew that what waited beneath that bridge would change their lives forever. The night was cold and silent. The city lights behind them shimmered like stars too far to reach. Aisha clutched the small food bag close to her chest while Monica walked beside her, her coat wrapped tightly against the wind. When they reached the old bridge, Aisha stopped. The smell of damp garbage and smoke filled the air. Familiar, suffocating, heartbreaking. Children huddled together under torn blankets. Rusty barrels burned faintly, their flames fighting the wind. And there, sitting on a broken crate, was Tyson. He looked up when he saw her. His eyes, angry before, now looked tired, empty. The other kids stared too, whispering her name like she was a ghost. I brought food, Aisha said softly, placing the bag down. The younger ones ran forward. They didn't care who she had become. Food was food. They tore into the bread and fruit, laughing for the first time in days. Monica stood quietly, watching, her heart breaking at the sight. See? Aisha smiled weakly. I didn't forget. Tyson didn't move. They'll eat tonight, he said flatly. But what about tomorrow? You think one bag fixes the world? Aisha looked down. I'm trying, Tyson, I really am. You're living in their world now, he said bitterly. Not ours. Once you step out of this dirt, you can never come back clean. Monica took a small step forward. Listen, she said, her voice calm but firm. No one's forgetting anyone. We can help you too. I can talk to some people, maybe find a shelter. Tyson's voice rose. We don't need your pity. The kids flinched. Aisha's eyes filled with tears. It's not pity, she whispered. It's hope. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Then, suddenly a sound of footsteps echoed from the shadows. 3 older boys appeared, rough and ragged. They weren't bridge kids. These were men who survived on crime. Well, look who came back, one of them sneered. The little singer girl. Thought you forgot us. Monica instinctively stepped in front of Aisha. Stay back, she warned. The man laughed. Relax, lady. We just want to talk to the star. Tyson stood up. Leave her alone. Oh, look who's defending her now, another man mocked. Didn't you call her a traitor? Aisha's heart pounded. The night suddenly felt colder. Monica whispered. Aisha, we need to go now. But before they could move, one of the men grabbed Monica's arm. Aisha screamed. Tyson lunged forward, shoving the man away. Chaos broke out. Shouts, shoves, footsteps scattering in the dark. Aisha clutched the food bag, trembling. She wanted to run, but Tyson shouted, Go, I'll hold them off. No, she cried. I can't leave you. Monica pulled her away, her heart racing. We have to, Aisha. We'll get help. They ran, through the wet streets, past the broken signs, until the bridge disappeared behind them. When they finally stopped, Aisha collapsed against the wall, sobbing. He helped us? He stayed behind. Monica held her tight. We'll go back in the morning, I promise. But Aisha shook her head, whispering through her tears. The bridge doesn't forgive. No one who leaves ever truly leaves. That night, neither of them slept. The sound of the river under the bridge echoed in Aisha's dreams. A whisper of home, of pain, and of something she couldn't name. Guilt. The morning after the bridge incident, The studio lights felt too bright. Aisha sat quietly in the corner, her eyes puffy from crying. Monica tried to act normal, smiling for the cameras, but she could feel it. Something had broken inside the little girl. Everyone wanted interviews. Everyone wanted the miracle street singer. They asked her to smile, to wave, to sing again. And Aisha did. She smiled when told. She sang when told. But her voice, once full of warmth and soul, now carried a quiet ache that nobody noticed, except Monica. Weeks passed. Aisha's song was now everywhere. Radio, internet, television. People danced to it. They cried to it. But nobody knew the story behind it. The night under the bridge. The hunger, the promise, the boy who stayed behind. One evening, Monica entered the recording room and found Aisha sitting alone, staring at her reflection in the glass. "Sweetheart," Monica said softly, "you did amazing today. Everyone's proud of you." Aisha didn't reply. "Monica," she finally said, "what if I'm not supposed to be here?" Monica frowned. "What do you mean?" "I dream about the bridge every night," Aisha whispered. Tyson shouting, the others hungry. "Mama used to say the stars can't shine if they forget the night sky." "Maybe I forgot mine." Monica knelt beside her. "No, Aisha, you didn't forget. You carried that pain into your music. That's why people feel it. That's how you honor your past." Aisha looked unconvinced. "Then why does my heart still hurt?" Before Monica could answer, her phone buzzed. A message from the police. She froze, reading it silently. Aisha noticed. "What happened?" Monica hesitated, but Aisha's eyes demanded truth. They found Tyson," Monica said softly. "He's hurt, but alive." Aisha gasped. "Where is he?" "At the city hospital. He tried to stop those men. They beat him. Someone found him by the river this morning." Aisha stood up instantly. "I need to see him." "Aisha, wait." "Please, Monica." "I have to." That afternoon, they reached the hospital. The nurse led them to a small ward. Tyson lay there, his face bruised, arm in a sling, eyes half closed. When he saw Aisha, he smiled faintly. "Told you, the world doesn't change easy." Aisha rushed to his bedside, tears streaming. "You saved us. I'm sorry. I should have stayed." "No," Tyson whispered weakly. "You were meant to leave. Someone had to. Someone had to show them. It's possible." Monica turned away, hiding her tears. Aisha took Tyson's hand. "I'll help you now. I'll help all of them. I promise." He smiled. "Promises again, huh?" She laughed through her tears. "This time I'll keep it." The monitor beeped softly in the background. Steady, calm, alive. That night, back home, Aisha sat by the window. The city below glimmered like stars scattered across black velvet. She whispered, "Mama, I sang for food once. Now I'll sing for them, all of them." Her reflection in the glass didn't look like a scared street girl anymore. It looked like someone who had found her voice. Not for fame, but for purpose. Monica watched her quietly from the doorway, realizing that this child had more strength in her tiny heart than most adults she had ever met. But neither of them knew that Aisha's next performance, the biggest one of her life, would not only test her voice, it would test her soul. The grand auditorium was overflowing. Lights flashed like falling stars. Banners read, "Aisha Daniels from Streets to Stardom." It was her biggest performance yet, broadcast live across the world. Backstage, Monica adjusted Aisha's microphone. "Remember, sweetheart, just sing from your heart." Aisha nodded quietly. She wore a simple white dress, no sparkle, no glitter. When Monica had offered her a gown, she'd smiled and said, "Mama never liked shiny things." She said, "If your heart shines, your clothes don't have to." The host's voice echoed from the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," the voice that touched millions. The girl who sang for food and found hope. "Please welcome Aisha Daniels." The crowd erupted in applause. Aisha stepped into the blinding light, her heart pounding. She could almost hear her mother's voice whispering, "You can do this, baby." The music began. Soft piano notes like raindrops falling. Aisha closed her eyes. She sang. But this time, her song wasn't about hunger. It was about forgiveness. About pain turned into power. About the bridge kids, her mother Tyson, and every child who had ever felt unseen. Her voice floated across the hall, raw and trembling. People in the front rows were already crying. Even the cameramen forgot to move. They just listened. Halfway through the song, Aisha stopped. Her throat tightened. The crowd fell silent. Then she whispered into the microphone, "This song is for the ones who never got a plate of food, but still kept dreaming." And with that, she sang again. Stronger, clearer, fearless. Her voice rose higher and higher until it felt like it could break the sky. In the control room, Monica watched the live feed, tears rolling down her cheeks. The internet exploded with messages. She's not just singing, she's praying. I've never felt something like this before. That little girl just gave the world its soul back. Even Tyson, still recovering in the hospital, watched from his bed, smiling through bandages. That's my girl, he whispered. She did it. As the last note faded, the audience rose to their feet. Thunderous applause filled the hall. People were shouting her name, crying, clapping, cheering, but Aisha didn't bow. She just stood there, staring up at the ceiling lights, whispering something only the stars could hear. Mama, they're clapping. Can you hear them? And then something happened. The massive screen behind her lit up. Someone had played a slideshow. Images of homeless children, bridges, hungry faces, and the words, "For every child who still sings for food." The crowd went silent again. Not from sadness, but from realization. Aisha turned, saw the pictures, and began to cry. Not small tears, but deep, shaking sobs. She dropped to her knees on the stage, her tiny hands over her face. Monica rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her. The cameras caught it. A famous pop star holding a little black girl who once sang for a meal. That single moment went viral, not because it was beautiful, but because it was true. That night, the world didn't just see a singer. It saw a story. A broken child who turned her pain into poetry. A voice that didn't ask for fame, only for a plate of food. And somehow, by singing, she had fed millions of hearts instead. Fame came fast, faster than she could breathe. Every newspaper had her face. Every radio station played her song. And every camera wanted her smile. But when the lights dimmed and the crowd went home, the world around Aisha became quiet again. Too quiet. At night, she sat by the same window where she once whispered to her mother. The stars outside blinked faintly, like they were trying to speak. Monica would sometimes find her there, humming softly to herself, staring at the moon. "Can you believe it?" Monica said one night, placing an award on the shelf. "You're the youngest singer to win this in history." Aisha turned, smiled politely, and whispered, "It's beautiful. But Mama would have said it doesn't fill your stomach." Monica's smile faded. "You're thinking about the bridge again, aren't you?" Aisha nodded. "They still live there, Monica. Every time I eat, I remember their faces." Monica sighed. "You can't save everyone, sweetheart." Aisha looked down. "Maybe I can't save everyone, but maybe I can try." The next morning she made a decision. When her manager handed her a schedule full of interviews and concerts, Aisha quietly said, "Cancel them." "What?" The manager blinked. "Aisha, you're at your peak. This is your time." "My time was when I sang for food," she said softly. "This is their time now." No one understood what she meant, not even Monica, until Aisha showed her the letter. It was a handwritten plan. Project Mama's Bridge, a music home for street children, a place where kids could eat, sleep, and learn to sing safely, freely and with love. "We'll build it where the old bridge stands," Aisha said, her eyes shining. "That place took everything from us. It's time we take it back." Monica was speechless. Then she smiled through her tears. "You really are your mother's daughter." Weeks turned into months. Construction began. Aisha used every penny she earned, every concert, every sponsorship to fund the dream. She visited the site every day, sometimes carrying lunch for the workers. The people who once mocked her story now called her the voice of hope. But not everyone was happy. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Aisha saw a familiar figure watching her from the street corner. Tyson. He had healed, but his eyes carried a storm. He walked over slowly. "So, you're building something?" Aisha smiled nervously. "For all of us. For the kids." Tyson nodded. "You always had a big heart." Then he looked at the half-built structure and whispered, "But promise me one thing, Aisha. Don't let them turn this into a show. Don't let your pain become someone else's advertisement." Aisha's smile faded. She reached for his hand. "I promise." Tyson looked at her. The same girl who once begged for a plate of food, and finally smiled. "Then maybe the bridge will forgive us." That night, Monica found Aisha sitting at the construction site, her feet dangling over the edge, the wind blowing through her hair. "You could be performing in front of thousands tonight," Monica said softly. "Instead, you're here." Aisha smiled faintly. "I am performing just for the stars." She looked up at the sky. "And for Mama." The lights from the nearby buildings shimmered on her face. In that moment, she didn't look like a singer or a celebrity. She looked like a child who had finally found peace. The peace that no applause could give, The grand opening of Project Mama's Bridge was set for Sunday. The old bridge had been rebuilt, not as a shelter of fear, but as a home of hope. Colorful lights hung from its railings, laughter echoed through its arches, and children ran barefoot, holding small paper flags that read, "Music is food for the soul." Aisha stood in the middle of it all, wearing a simple yellow dress and her mother's ribbon in her hair. Monica stood beside her, smiling proudly. Tyson and the other bridge kids were there too, dressed clean, fed and smiling for the first time in years. For Aisha, it was more than a dream. It was redemption. "Mama," she whispered to the wind, "look, we did it." That evening, a stage had been set under the new bridge. Hundreds gathered to hear Aisha sing again, not as a celebrity, but as a promise fulfilled. The mayor was there, journalists, even foreign guests. But Aisha didn't care about cameras. Her eyes kept wandering to the children sitting in the front row, eating the free food that was served before the show. She smiled. Her heart finally felt full. Project Mama's Bridge grew into a global foundation. Centers opened in Africa, Brazil, India, and the Middle East. Everywhere children once slept hungry, now they sang. And every time a new child entered one of those homes, they were greeted with Aisha's voice, her recording softly playing in the background. "If I sing well," the voice would whisper, "will you give me a plate of food?" It became a promise, not just a question. Monica, now gray-haired and calm, managed the foundation herself. She spent her mornings teaching children music, and her evenings talking to Aisha's photo on the wall. One afternoon, she visited the original bridge, the one where it all began. The sunlight danced on the river. Children were playing, laughing, eating, and among them was a little girl with dark curls and bright eyes, humming the same tune Aisha once sang. Monica walked over, tears welling up. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" The little girl smiled. "Aisha," she said proudly. "My mama named me after the singer who sang for food." Monica's heart trembled. She knelt, hugged the girl, and whispered, "Then the world is safe. Her song has found another voice." That night, as the city lights shimmered on the water, a gentle wind passed under the bridge. It carried a familiar sound, faint but clear, a soft humming, a mother's lullaby, a whisper that seemed to come from the stars. "Mamas, I'm still singing, and somewhere beyond the clouds, maybe, just maybe," her mother smiled back. Epilogue. Years later, the United Nations declared every November 12th as Aisha Daniels Day, the voice of hope. It wasn't a day of mourning. It was a day of singing. People across the world, rich or poor, black or white, sang in her memory, feeding children with every concert, every donation, every plate of food, because one hungry girl once asked for a meal and ended up feeding the world.